games y'all going to win this fall?
Whew. I mean, how many games do you need to win? Over under win total for the Florida State Seminoles is at 9.5. And we're looking at, of course, a season that's going to start overseas in Dublin. That's how we've gotten a lot of good morning from Mike Norvell as he sprints to training camp every single morning earlier than any other coach because they're going to start in week 0. I don't see a lot of certified losses on this. So 9.5 feels appropriate, but there are some games that could be a little tricky. There are some games that could be a toss-up. Tom, you get first crack at this. Seminoles over under 9.5. What do we think?
It makes sense that of the 3 options available to you, you'd go to me first for Florida State.
I just thought that you should set. I thought that you're
Do
a tone
it.
setter.
Do it.
12-0.
Keep Peyton. Let's go.
Lock it up. Over of the year. Florida State's not losing a game. They're the greatest team in the world. If they fail to win the national title, it's a huge disappointment of a season. There is no excuse for this program not to win the national title. There, now that I've raised the expectations, just hopefully the Seminoles fans will stop listening now. They think I love them because I'm going slightly under, not betting it, but slightly under. I've got them at 9.3 wins, and it's at 9.5. I just overall, like defensively, I think between Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones, you have a very good argument for having not just the best set of defensive ends in the ACC, but one of the best sets in the country. The pass rush is going to be good. That's awesome. Offensively, I like a lot of what they have. I think the offensive line is going to be very solid. I think I don't think the receivers are as good as last year because they had 2 very good receivers, but I still think they're decent. And I think Roydell Williams is a good running back, and I think they've got depth there. My biggest concern with this team is the quarterback. And I think like DJU, we know what he is. He's solid. He is steady. But you've got big games on this schedule. Like you've got Clemson, you're at Miami, you're at Notre Dame, and Florida is Florida, but it's still a huge game in that state and in this rivalry. DJU to me is somebody that in those big moments, he's not a difference maker to me. And I think that Florida State overall is going to win plenty of games because they're just going to be a better team than most of the guys they're facing. But when you get in those tight ones, I don't have a ton of faith in DJU. So I think 9-3 is just a little more likely than 10-2.
Yeah, I don't see a big edge here. I'm going to go over because this is the best price in market to go over, right? Everywhere else to go over, you're laying like $1.10, and here you're getting $1.04. So, I mean, to me, a 14-cent difference when the margins are razor thin is pretty meaningful. I echo Tom. I actually think the receivers are a bigger step down than Tom does. I think that is the biggest weakness on the team, and probably I am much more worried about receiver than I am quarterback for this team. I do like that DJU is used to throwing to really small guys at Oregon State, and that like has been something I think you'll see with FSU as well this year. Linebackers a clear step down. Maybe you lost Bethune and Deloach for like 2 24-year-old dudes. They were usually in the right spots, even if they weren't athletic freaks. I think that they are going to be in the conversation for the best corner combo in the country. I understand why Izzy Thomas was not on first team All-ACC because he hasn't played a full season yet, but for Norvell to go on McElroy's podcast and be like, yeah, he's our best player, essentially. Like, that's some pretty high praise when you have guys who are, right now projected like second rounder type stuff. So, and Cypress is kind of back to the form now that he showed at UVA when they got him, when he was first team All-ACC.
So that's what I was about to ask you about, because I'm not that high in Cypress.
Yeah, he's been playing really well in practice. I mean, granted, the receivers are materially worse this year in practice, but obviously they do like him quite a bit. I think the defense is going to be pretty damn good against most of the teams they play. And this, to me, should be the best offensive line FSU has had in a decade. They have 7 guys who are 23 years of age or older as their top 7. And a couple of the blue chips they've signed are kind of progressing. So very, very slightly over. I think 9 and 10 wins are like by far the most likely outcomes. And yeah, not a big edge for me.
They are a veteran ass team on offense.
Yeah.
Like maybe not a ton of experience, but a lot of old dudes.
And DJ showed up in shape. Like, I will say that. Like, if you saw the Circle K commercial, like, he's not 260. He's probably like, 245-ish. And I think that's important because they will run him.
DJ showed up too with the right mentality. Everything you've heard about him has been awesome. We had Norvell say that he's been remarkable, which I think I warned everybody. It doesn't matter what he does in practice because clearly the length of time Dabo stuck with him, and I'm sure had him competing in practice. He looked good at practice in Clemson too. I agree with Tom that he hasn't been that difference maker to this point. The thing is, I think there are 3 games where you have to worry about that. Clemson at home, Notre Dame on the road, Miami at the road. But I think the other ones you have to feel pretty comfortable. Like last year we mentioned earlier, we're doing BC. That game kind of got them. I don't think BC does that again. Like, where's the game where they could potentially slip up? SMU, I
Could
think
be Ireland.
It could be Ireland. I am definitely nervous about Ireland. But so here's what I think early in the season. I think they're going to be able to rely on defense in the run game. I mean, I think one of the credits too or the lack of credit that Mike Norvell, like he's an incredible play caller and he's been great with his quarterbacks around building plays specifically for game planning. I remember it was the first year when was it he beat North Carolina? North Carolina was a top 15 team. I forget that one.
21.
Yeah. But he came out and that was a game plan where it was like, oh, he schemed up some stuff. He is a really good schematic play caller to find your deficiencies, but also to play to his quarterback strength. I don't think they're going to ask DJ to do a whole lot through the air. I think he's going to be handing the ball a lot. I think the defense is going to be great. And I do think they'll be able to find the difference. I think 10-2 is probably where I'm likely, but I feel like if I'm going to go 9-3 or 10-2, I feel like the more likely situation is the 10-2. So I'm going to go over.
If we're going to take DJU at what he's been, he is a 60% passer that throws 2.3 touchdowns for every 1 interception. That you're going to get some plays where he's able to go out there and with his talent, with his physical gifts, he's going to be able to make some plays. I feel like Jordan Travis is going to be missed. I feel like Jordan Travis did some things outside of the plan when things went wrong. His ability to make a play is not something that I am counting on DJ Uiagalelei to do. I like Darius Washington. I like Josh Farmer. I like the idea that there are older players that have been at Florida State. We make such a big deal about, Mike Norvell as a portal guy, but this is not the final, but this is one of the first years where we've got guys who have been brought up in the program and they're old and they are motivated. And I think that they're going to have a big impact on this season. In terms of the win total, I've got this as a 10-2 football team, 0 certified losses. I will give you Georgia Tech, Boston College, Memphis, Cal, at Duke, North Carolina, Charleston Southern, and I'll give you Florida, especially at the end of the year. At SMU, maybe they get tripped up. Clemson at home. I'm very high on Clemson. Miami, is what it is, and you still have to go to South Bend. But those are the only ones where I'm not just putting in an automatic W. So at 9.5, I kind of like right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, you've even got plus money here. So I like going over the 9.5 for the Seminoles here because I think 10-2 is where we're going to land. 11-1, absolutely in the mix. So even given that context of DJU, I still like the bones of this roster and consider Mike Norvell a plus value coach, as made evidenced by the fact that we've got him as one of the top 10 coaches in the country in our CBS Sports coach rankings. So give me the over here for the Seminoles.